The phone rang at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon while I was finishing my shift at St. Mary's Hospital. I had just finished checking on Mrs. Rodriguez, an elderly woman recovering from hip surgery, when my phone buzzed against my scrubs. The caller ID showed Mom, and despite everything that had happened over the past few years, my heart still lifted a little when I saw her name. "Hey, Mom," I answered, stepping into an empty patient room to take the call privately. "Oh honey, I'm so glad I caught you." Her voice had that particular tone, the one she used when she was about to deliver news she knew I wouldn't like. After 32 years of being her daughter, I knew that voice like a warning siren. "What's going on?" I asked, though part of me already dreaded the answer. "Well, it's about the family retreat this weekend. You know, our annual trip to the lake house." My stomach tightened. Of course I knew about the retreat. It was literally the only thing I'd been looking forward to for months. Ever since I'd finished my medical residency 6 months ago and finally had something resembling a normal schedule, I'd been counting down the days until our family's sacred tradition, 3 days at the lake house in upstate New York, the same place we've been going every summer since I was 12 years old. "Yeah, what about it?" I tried to keep my voice neutral, but I could feel tension creeping into my shoulders. "Well, you see, there's been a bit of a situation with the sleeping arrangements." I waited. My mother had a way of dancing around difficult topics, and I'd learned that pushing her only made her retreat further into vague explanations. "The thing is," she continued, "your brother Michael is bringing Sarah and the twins, and you know how the boys are, they need their own space now that they're getting older. And Lisa is bringing her new boyfriend, Trevor, and she's so excited for us to meet him. Your father and I will obviously be in the master bedroom, and..." "Mom!" I interrupted her rambling. "Just tell me what you're trying to say." There was a pause. In that silence, I could hear the familiar sounds of my childhood home, the old refrigerator humming, my father's TV playing some sports commentary in the background, the creak of the floorboards that had never been fixed. "There just isn't enough space for everyone this year, sweetheart." The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually stepped backward, my back hitting the hospital room wall. "What do you mean there isn't enough space?" "Well, the lake house only has 4 bedrooms, and with Michael's family taking one, Lisa and Trevor in another, your father and me in the master, there's just no room left." I felt like I was underwater, like the words were reaching me through some thick, distorting medium. "So what are you saying, exactly?" "I'm saying maybe it would be better if you sat this one out. Just this year. We can plan something else, just the 2 of us, maybe lunch next weekend." The fluorescent lights in the hospital room suddenly felt too bright. I closed my eyes and tried to process what I was hearing. My own mother, the woman who had raised me, who had cheered when I got into medical school, who had cried proud tears when I graduated, was uninviting me from our family tradition. "Mom, I don't understand. The lake house has always fit all of us before. What's different now?" "Well, the twins are bigger now, and they can't share a bed anymore. And Trevor is, well, he's quite tall, so he needs a proper bed, not the couch. So Lisa's boyfriend, who none of us have ever met, gets a bed, but I don't." "Don't be dramatic, honey. It's just logistics." "Dramatic." The word stung worse than anything else she could have said. Here I was, having worked 16-hour shifts for the past 3 years, having sacrificed relationships, sleep, and my own mental health to become a doctor, something my parents had always said they were proud of, and now I was being dramatic for wanting to spend time with my family. "How long have you been planning to tell me this?" I asked. "Well, we've been discussing it for a few weeks." "A few weeks?" They'd been discussing my exclusion for weeks, and no one had thought to involve me in the conversation. No one had said, "Hey, maybe we could figure out a different arrangement." No one had suggested that maybe, just maybe, the boyfriend could sleep on the couch for one weekend. "What if I slept on the couch?" I offered, hating myself for even suggesting it but desperate to salvage this somehow. "Oh honey, you work so hard. You need proper rest. Besides, the couch is really uncomfortable, and you have such a demanding job." The irony wasn't lost on me. I was too important to sleep on a couch, but not important enough to have a place at my own family retreat. "Have you told Michael and Lisa about this?" "Well, not exactly. We thought it would be easier if we just handled it between us." Of course. My siblings didn't even know that I was being excluded. They probably assumed I'd be there, wondering where I was when they arrived at the lake house on Friday. I stared at my reflection in the dark hospital window. I looked tired, more tired than any 32-year-old should look. My dark circles had dark circles, and my scrubs hung loosely on my frame. I'd lost weight during residency and never gained it back. When was the last time I'd looked at myself and seen someone who deserved love and inclusion rather than just someone who needed to work harder, be better, take up less space? If this story is hitting you hard, please take a moment to comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories like this one, and share this with someone who might need to hear it. Your support means everything, and it helps stories like these reach people who need them most. You know what, Mom? This is really something. What do you mean? I mean, do you realize what you're actually saying to me right now? I'm just trying to make sure everyone is comfortable. Everyone except me. That's not fair, isn't it? I could feel years of suppressed frustration bubbling to the surface. When was the last time you called me just to see how I was doing? Not to ask me about medical advice for one of your friends, not to complain about Dad's blood pressure medication, but actually ask about my life. We talk all the time. We don't, Mom. We really don't. I show up to family dinners when I can, usually late because I'm coming straight from the hospital, and I sit there while everyone talks about their lives, their jobs, their relationships. Nobody asks about mine because everyone assumes I'm too busy or too career-focused to have anything interesting to share. That's not true. When was the last time any of you visited me? I've been in the same apartment for 2 years, and none of you have seen it. Do you even know what I do all day? Do you know that I held a 16-year-old's hand while she died last month because her family couldn't get to the hospital in time? Do you know that I haven't been on a date in 8 months because my schedule is insane? Do you know that sometimes I go 3 days straight without talking to anyone about anything that isn't medical? The silence on the other end of the line stretched on. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Honey, I had no idea you felt. Of course you didn't. Because feeling would require you to actually pay attention to my life instead of just assuming that because I'm successful professionally, I must have everything figured out. We are proud of you, are you? Are you really? Because right now it feels like you're punished me for being the responsible one. Michael gets to bring his wife and kids, that's fine, they're family. But Lisa gets to bring some guy she's been dating for what, 3 months? And he gets priority over your own daughter. It's not about priority, then what is it about, Mom? Help me understand how this makes sense to you. I started pacing the small hospital room, my sneakers squeaking against the linoleum floor. Through the window, I could see families in the parking lot, people hugging goodbye after visiting their loved ones, couples walking hand in hand, teenagers complaining while their parents tried to corral them into cars. Normal family interactions. Messy, imperfect, but inclusive. The truth is, my mother said quietly, we thought you might be too busy anyway. You're always saying how much work you have. Because I do have a lot of work. That doesn't mean I don't want to spend time with my family. That doesn't mean I don't need my family. We just thought. You thought wrong. The words came out harsher than I intended, but I was past caring about tone. You thought you could make decisions about my life without including me, and you thought I'd just accept it because I always accept everything. That was the truth, wasn't it? I was the accommodating one. The one who switched shifts to make it to family events. The one who never complained when plans changed. The one who brought thoughtful gifts and remembered everyone's birthdays and asked about their lives even when nobody asked about mine. Maybe we can work something out. No, Mom. Don't do that. Don't offer me scraps now because I'm upset. You made your decision. You had weeks to include me in the discussion, and you chose not to. You chose to prioritize everyone else's comfort over my presence. You're being unfair, am I? Let me ask you something. If this were Michael or Lisa, would you have called them a few days before the trip to tell them they couldn't come? Another silence. That's what I thought. I looked around the hospital room, at the equipment that kept people alive, at the charts that tracked healing and recovery. This place had become more familiar to me than my childhood home. These halls had seen more of my tears, my frustrations, my victories than my own family had in years. I need to go, Mom. I have patients to check on. Wait, honey, let's talk about this more. There's nothing more to talk about. You've made your choice clear. I'm not family enough to have a space at the family retreat. Don't say that. Why not? It's true, isn't it? I'm the daughter you're proud of in theory but don't actually want around in practice. That's not. It is, Mom. And you know what? I'm tired of pretending it's not. I hung up before she could respond. The silence in the hospital room was deafening. I stood there for a long moment, holding my phone, feeling like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. Everything I thought I knew about my place in my family had just been rearranged. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Please don't be angry. We can figure something out. Too little, too late. The damage was done, and more importantly, the truth was out. I wasn't the daughter they made room for, I was the daughter they assumed would be fine on her own. I walked back to the nurse's station, where my colleague Jenny was updating patient charts. "You okay?" she asked, looking up at me with concern. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Something like that," I mumbled. "Family drama?" I laughed, but it came out bitter. "Is there any other kind?" Jenny nodded knowingly. She was in her 50s, had raised 3 kids mostly on her own while working full-time as a nurse. She'd seen it all. "Want to talk about it?" I almost said no, my default response to offers of support. But something about the genuine concern in her eyes made me reconsider. "My family just uninvited me from our annual retreat because there isn't enough space." Jenny's eyebrows shot up. "Seriously, my brother's bringing his wife and kids, my sister's bringing her new boyfriend, and apparently there's no room left for me. The boyfriend gets a bed but you don't." "That's exactly what I said." Jenny shook her head. "Family can be the cruelest sometimes, can't they? They know exactly which buttons to push because they're the ones who installed them." Her words hit home in a way that made my chest tight. I thought I mattered more than that, you know. You do matter. Don't let their poor planning make you question your worth. But maybe they're right. Maybe I am too busy, too career-focused. Maybe I haven't been present enough. "Stop." Jenny's voice was firm. "Stop doing that thing where you blame yourself for other people's thoughtlessness. You've been working your ass off to save lives. That's not a character flaw." I felt tears threatening, which was embarrassing. I'd cried more in the past year than in the previous 5 combined, and it always seemed to happen at work. "I just wanted to spend time with them," I whispered. "Of course you did. That's normal. That's human. So what do I do now?" Jenny looked at me for a long moment, then smiled in a way that made me nervous. "You know what? Screw them." "What?" "I'm serious. Screw them. You want to know what you do? You take that weekend and you do something amazing for yourself. Something that reminds you that you don't need their permission to have a good time." "Like what?" "I don't know. Go somewhere beautiful. Do something you've always wanted to do. Treat yourself like you matter, because you do." The idea was appealing, but also terrifying. When was the last time I'd done something just for me? Something that wasn't about work or family obligations or being the responsible one. I wouldn't even know where to start, I admitted. "That's the saddest thing you've said yet," Jenny replied gently. She was right. It was sad. Here I was, a successful doctor with my own apartment and car and savings account, and I couldn't think of a single thing I wanted to do for myself. My phone buzzed again. Another text from my mother. "I talked to your father. Maybe Trevor could sleep on the couch after all." I showed the message to Jenny, who read it and rolled her eyes. "Oh, now they can figure it out. After they already showed you where you rank in their priorities, maybe I should just accept it. Go to the retreat, sleep on the couch if I have to. At least I'd be there." "Is that what you want? To be there as an afterthought? To be the family member who gets the scraps of accommodation?" When she put it that way, it sounded pathetic. "No," I said quietly. "I don't want that." "Then don't accept it." I looked at my phone again, at my mother's text offering me the couch like it was some generous compromise. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. They'd had weeks to plan this. Weeks to consider how to make it work for everyone. But instead of including me in the problem solving, they'd decided I was the problem to be solved. I typed back, "Thanks for the offer, but I'm going to pass. Have a great time." I hit send before I could second guess myself. Jenny grinned. "Good for you. I can't believe I just did that." "I can. You stood up for yourself. It's about time." My phone started ringing immediately. Mom again. I declined the call, then it buzzed with a text from my dad. "Your mother is upset. Call home." Then my brother. "Mom said you're not coming to the lake. What's going on?" Then Lisa. "Did you and Mom have a fight?" I turned my phone face down on the nurse's station counter. "They're freaking out," I told Jenny. "Good. Let them freak out. Maybe now they'll realize what they've done." But even as I said it, I felt a familiar guilt creeping in. The guilt that had been programmed into me since childhood, the guilt that said my job was to make everyone else comfortable, even at my own expense. What if I'm overreacting? I asked. Jenny looked at me seriously. "Honey, you are the least dramatic person I know. If you're upset, there's a damn good reason for it. But they're my family. Family doesn't get a free pass to treat you poorly. In fact, they should be held to a higher standard, not a lower one." I knew she was right, but knowing and feeling are two different things. I'd spent so many years being the good daughter, the reliable one, the one who never caused problems. This felt like stepping into foreign territory. I don't know how to do this, I admitted. Do what? Stand up for myself with them. I've never done it before. Well, Jenny said, glancing at the clock, you've got all weekend to figure it out. The weekend. The weekend I was supposed to be at the lake, swimming and playing board games and catching up with my nephews and getting to know Lisa's new boyfriend. Instead, I'd be, what? Sitting in my apartment, feeling sorry for myself. You know what? I said suddenly. You're right. About what? About doing something for myself this weekend. Something that reminds me I matter. Jenny's face lit up. Now you're talking. What did you have in mind? I didn't know yet, but for the first time in months, I felt a spark of excitement about something that had nothing to do with work or family obligations. I have no idea, I said, grinning despite everything. But I'm going to figure it out. My phone was still lighting up with messages from my family, but for once, I didn't feel compelled to respond immediately. Let them wonder. Let them worry. Let them realize what it felt like when someone they cared about suddenly wasn't available. I had a weekend to plan, and for the first time in years, it was going to be entirely about what I wanted. The question was, what did I want? It was terrifying to realize I'd have to rediscover the answer. I spent the rest of my shift in a strange state of emotional suspension. Part of me felt liberated, like I'd finally said something that needed to be said. But another part felt sick to my stomach, like I'd just burned down a bridge I might need later. My phone continued buzzing throughout the evening. Messages from my mother, my father, my siblings. I ignored them all. When I finally got home to my one-bedroom apartment at 8 p.m., I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my couch, staring at the stack of unread texts. 23 messages. In my family, that was practically a crisis-level response. I scrolled through them. Mom, please call me. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Dad, this is getting out of hand. We need to talk. Michael, Mom's crying. What did you say to her? Lisa, I don't understand what happened. Can you call me? Michael again, Sarah says maybe Trevor should just stay home. Will that fix this? Mom, I never meant to hurt your feelings. Please don't shut us out. Dad, your mother didn't eat dinner. She's very upset. The messages painted a picture I'd seen before, my family in crisis mode because someone wasn't following the script. And historically, that someone was never me. I was the peacekeeper, the one who smoothed things over, who made everyone else comfortable even when I wasn't. But tonight felt different. Tonight, their distress didn't automatically become my emergency. I took another sip of wine and really looked around my apartment. Jenny had been right, it was sad that none of my family had ever been here. It was a nice place, actually. I'd worked hard to afford it. The walls were painted a warm gray, and I'd slowly collected artwork that made me happy, mostly landscapes and abstract pieces in blues and greens. My bookshelves were full of medical texts, but also novels I'd been meaning to read, travel guides for places I'd never visited, cookbooks I'd never opened. When was the last time I'd cooked a real meal? When was the last time I'd read a book that wasn't related to work? When was the last time I'd done anything just because I enjoyed it? My phone rang. Mom again. This time, I answered. Hi, Mom. Oh, thank God. Honey, I've been so worried. I think we got our wires crossed earlier. We didn't get our wires crossed, Mom. You told me there wasn't room for me at the family retreat, and I told you that hurt my feelings. But I didn't mean it like that. I was just trying to figure out the logistics. 4 weeks. You figured out the logistics for weeks without including me. There was a pause. Michael says Sarah offered to have Trevor stay home. That's not the point. Then what is the point? I'm trying to fix this. I rubbed my temples, feeling a familiar headache building. The point is that you made me feel like I don't matter. Like I'm an afterthought in my own family. That's not true. Mom, when was the last time you called me just to see how I was doing? We talk all the time. We don't. We really don't. I call you, usually when I'm driving home from work. You ask about work, I ask about you and Dad, and we hang up. That's not the same as talking. Well, you're always so busy. So are Michael and Lisa, but you make time for their lives. You know about Michael's promotion, about the twins' soccer games, about Lisa's dating life. Do you know anything about mine? Another pause. Longer this time. I know you're doing important work. That's not what I asked. The silence stretched between us, filled with the weight of years of surface-level conversations and assumptions. I don't know how to talk to you sometimes, my mother said quietly. You're so accomplished. So put together. I never know what you need from us. The admission caught me off guard. In all my anger, I hadn't considered that maybe my parents felt intimidated by my success, like they didn't know how to relate to the daughter who'd gone further in life than anyone in our family ever had. I need the same thing everyone needs, Mom. I need to feel like I belong. Like I'm wanted, not just tolerated. Of course you're wanted. Then why was your first instinct to exclude me rather than include me in finding a solution? I don't know. I guess I thought you'd understand. You're always so reasonable about these things. Reasonable. There was that word again. The word that had defined me my entire life. Reasonable. Accommodating. Easygoing. The daughter who never caused problems, who always went with the flow, who put everyone else's needs first. What if I don't want to be reasonable anymore? I asked. What do you mean? What if I want to be unreasonable sometimes? What if I want to be the one whose needs get prioritized? What if I want to matter as much as everyone else? You do matter, do I? Because it doesn't feel that way. It feels like I'm the family member everyone assumes will be fine on their own. I could hear my mother crying softly on the other end of the line, and my automatic response was to comfort her, to take back my words, to make her feel better. But I forced myself to sit with the discomfort of her tears without rushing to fix them. I don't know how we got here, she said through her sniffles. We got here because somewhere along the way, you all decided that my independence meant I didn't need love and inclusion. That my success meant I didn't need family support. That my career meant I didn't need anything else. That's not what we decided, isn't it? Tell me, Mom, when was the last time any of you checked on me just because you missed me? Not because you needed medical advice, not because you had news to share, but just because you wanted to hear my voice. I waited, but she didn't answer. I spend my days taking care of other people, I continued. I hold their hands when they're scared, I explain procedures to worried families, I work 16-hour shifts to save lives. And when I come home, I'm alone. I'm always alone. The only time I hear from my family is when you need something from me or when there's an obligation I'm expected to fulfill. Honey, I'm tired, Mom. I'm so tired of being the daughter who doesn't need anything. I'm tired of being strong all the time. I'm tired of being reasonable and accommodating and understanding. I'm tired of being the afterthought. You're not an afterthought. Then prove it. The words hung in the air between us. How? She asked quietly. I don't know. But not by offering me the couch as consolation prize. Not by making me feel guilty for being hurt. Not by trying to fix this with quick solutions that don't address the real problem. What is the real problem? I thought about it for a moment, trying to put into words the feeling that had been growing in my chest for months, maybe years. The real problem is that I don't think any of you actually know me anymore. You know Dr. Sarah, the successful daughter who has her life together. But you don't know Sarah, the person who sometimes cries in hospital supply closets because she couldn't save someone. You don't know Sarah, who goes days without talking to anyone about anything personal. You don't know Sarah, who would rather work a double shift than go home to an empty apartment. My voice broke on the last word, and I realized I was crying. Oh, sweetheart, my mother whispered. I didn't become a doctor so I could be isolated from everyone who's supposed to love me, I said. I became a doctor because I wanted to help people, to make a difference. But somewhere along the way, it became the only thing about me that anyone seemed to care about. That's not true. When Lisa got promoted last year, you threw her a party. When Michael's team won the championship, you went to the celebration. When I finished my residency, 3 years of the hardest work I've ever done, you sent a text congratulation. We were proud, were you? Or were you just relieved that I'd achieved what you expected me to achieve? The question seemed to catch her off guard. Of course we were proud. We are proud, but you're not interested. There's a difference. I walked to my kitchen and refilled my wine glass, needing something to do with my hands. I don't understand the difference, my mother said. Pride is about achievement. Interest is about the person. You're proud of what I've accomplished, but you're not interested in who I am or what I need or how I'm doing day to day. I ask how you're doing. You ask how work is. That's not the same thing. Another long pause. I don't know how to fix this, she said finally. I don't either. But I know that pretending everything is fine isn't working anymore. So what happens now? I looked out my apartment window at the city lights. Somewhere out there, families were having dinner together, couples were watching movies on their couches, friends were laughing over drinks. Normal people living normal lives with normal relationships. I don't know, I said honestly. But I'm not coming to the retreat, even if we make room, especially if you make room. I don't want pity accommodations, Mom. I want to be wanted. And right now, I don't feel wanted. You are wanted. Then why didn't you want me there in the first place? She couldn't answer that, and we both knew it. I should go, I said. I have an early shift tomorrow. Will you call me tomorrow? I don't know. Please don't shut us out completely. I'm not shutting you out, Mom. I'm just not pretending anymore that everything is okay when it's not. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen for a long time, finishing my wine and thinking about the conversation. Part of me felt guilty for making my mother cry. Part of me felt scared about what this meant for my relationship with my family. But underneath all of that, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, relief. I'd told the truth. Finally, after years of swallowing my feelings and being the accommodating daughter, I'd told the truth about how I felt. And the world hadn't ended. My phone buzzed with a text from Lisa. Mom told me what happened. I had no idea you felt left out. Can we talk? For the first time all day, one of my family members was asking about my feelings rather than trying to manage them. It was a small thing, but it felt significant. I texted back, not tonight. But maybe tomorrow. Then I turned my phone to silent and ran a hot bath. Tomorrow I would figure out what to do with my suddenly free weekend. Tomorrow I would decide how to move forward with my family. Tomorrow I would start figuring out who I was when I wasn't trying to be the daughter everyone expected me to be. But tonight, I was going to take care of myself. For once, I was going to be the priority in my own life. It was a start.